Tez Zayin Amud Beis. We'll begin Tez Zayin Amud Aleph, about 6 lines from the bottom, the 2 dots. Chosen Palter Mikrishma. Chosen is Palter from Krishma, the first 4 nights. Oisik b'mitzvah, Palter min a mitzvah. That's the principle. If someone is engaged in a mitzvah, he's Palter from another mitzvah. Tana Rabbanan b'shivtach b'veisecha. The pasuk says b'shivtach b'veisecha, when you dwell in your house. Prat la oisik b'mitzvah, that excludes someone who's oisik b'mitzvah. He's engaged in the mitzvah. He does not have to recite Krishma. Uvelech l'chava derech, when he goes on his journey. Prat l'chasen, that excludes a chasen. Mikan amru ha'kainis as habesula patur v'esalmon ha'chayiv. From here we learn out that a person who is now has a chasana for a besula, where he's torud with the tirda of be'ilas mitzvah. He's pater an almona, where he's not torud with the tirda of mitzvah, because she's already been married, therefore he is chayiv. So we have this special limud over here that oisik b'mitzvah is pater min a mitzvah, and also uvelech l'chava derech prat l'chasen, even though what he's engaged in is only tirda, he's still pater min a mitzvah, and therefore it applies only to a kindness as a basula, where he's Torah, where he has tirda the mitzvah, where he's preoccupied with the mitzvah. My mashma, how do we learn it out from a leftover derech? Amara papa ki derech. Just like going on your journey on the road. Ma derech rishus, you're going for a rishus, not a mitzvah. Afachanam rishus. Here also, your chiyuv of Krishma is where what you're engaged in is a voluntary matter, and therefore you have to stop it to recite Krishma. But if you're going to a mitzvah, you're potter. How do you know the derech is a rishus? Maybe the derech is a devar mitzvah. And the Torah says, in spite of that, you still have to say Krishma. How do you know it's davka if the derech is a rishus, a voluntary one? Our answers in if you're going on the journey for your personal needs, then you have to say Krishma. But if you're engaged in the derech of a mitzvah, you're potum. Well, if that's the case, if you're saying that it's a oisik mitzvah is potter, why dafke besula fila kainis is almona nami? Then you should say that an almona nami, he should be potter is also oisik in a mitzvah. More answers, yes, but hacha tarid, hacha loy tarid, by a besula he's tarid, he's preoccupied, but by an almona he's not preoccupied, so then if he's chayiv. If it's an account of tirda, of being preoccupied, well, even if he's preoccupied, he's all bothered and worried, there's a loss in business, his ship is lost at sea, and therefore he's fanuman, he's torrid. He should also be potter if tirda is the factor. Even though the ovel is preoccupied, he's torrid, he's still chayv in all the mitzvahs of Torah, chutz minat tefillin, except tefillin shrei nemerim pe'er, because tefillin is glory, and it's not appropriate for the ovel, but I'll call upon it. Other mitzvahs, he is chayv, even though he's torrid. The Gemara, Amar Hasam Torah, the Rishus, the ovel, the tirda, that he's fanuman, that he's torrid, is not a mitzvah. The mitzvah is to be noig avelos, but the tirda is not a mitzvah, so therefore that tirda does not pater him from the mitzvahs. But hacha tirda the mitzvah. Here, the actual being torrid is being torrid in how to perform the mitzvah, being able to perform the mitzvah. The tirda, the mitzvah, is oisik b'mitzvah, and therefore he's pater in a mitzvah. Let's see the Mishnah. So we were discussing in the previous Mishnah that about Rabban Gamliel. So we'll continue on that he bathed in the first night after his wife was nifter. Didn't you teach us, our Rebbe, that the ovel is also to bathe, to wash? So how could you wash? So Amar Lahem Eini Kishar B'nei Adam. Yes, he says, but I'm not like most other people. Istanisoni. I'm a very finicky person, and it bothers me. Not bathing bothers me excessively. So as Rayataisus explains that, therefore the Isra, the Gemara, the Rabbanan answered washing for an ovel because there shouldn't be a tanuk. It shouldn't be something that is an enjoyment for him, pampering himself, a luxury. But he said in his case, it's not a tanuk. In his case, if he doesn't wash, it's a tsar. And the Rabbanan didn't impose a tsar on the ovel. It said he shouldn't have a tonic. So he said in his case, however, it's not a case of a tanug, of being a luxury. It causes him tsar not to wash, and therefore it's not awesome. And when Tevi, his edit, was nifter, kibalav tanchum, he was accepted a tanchumim, consolation. Amalei Talmid of his Talmidim said, Rebbeinu, didn't you teach us, a Rebbe? The Forshim speak out, this is the proper way of questioning a Rebbe, not to say, ask him a kasha that there isn't this is wrong. Didn't you teach us, our master, our Rebbe, that we do not accept consolation for an avodim, we don't accept tanchumim for them? Yes, but he's different. He's not like Shar Kol Avodim. In other avodim, we're not makabel tanchumim. We don't put an Evid in the same category as everybody else. We don't want to say for Yuchsin that he was considered a Yisrael, a Yisrael Gomer. But Tevi is not like other avodim. Kosher haya. He was kosher, meaning, so because he was kosher, and because he was and that madrega, he was on a higher madrega, for the kovid, for his kovid, it's worthy to be makabel tanchumim for him. If he wants to recite the Krishma the first night, he's permitted to do it. Even though Oisig ben Mitzvah, Potter in a Mitzvah, but if he feels that he can have Kavana, then he can do it. He says, no, not everybody that wants to be Makabel Shem Shamayim, he should, meaning he has to be dafka on such a madrega. He has to be on the madrega to do it. So as we learned earlier in the previous Mishnah, that Rabbi Gamliel Ikora Krishma. Rabbi Gamliel was Kora Krishma. He was on the madrega. A person who's muksuk to be on the madrega can do it. Otherwise, he should not put himself in that position. It's Yehura, it's Gaiva. Someone who is muksuk like Rabbi Gamliel, he should be Kora Krishma. He can be Kora Krishma Laila Rishayna. As we pointed out before, that was in earlier generations where people had on the madrega that they had kavana, they had a high madrega of kavana for Krishna, and being Torah, the mitzvah would be ashter for that kavana. Nowadays, we are not on that madrega in any event, and therefore we recite the Krishna because it's not considered such a shter to the level of kavana that we typically have. Why did he wash Laila Rishayna? Because he held that the Aninos, when the Mes is Nifter, at that point, his person is an Oinen. And his person is an Oinen, and an Oinen is Minatayra, cannot eat Meiser, is also to eat Meiser, he's considered an Oinen. But he held that that's only the first day. But Kasava Anina's Laila, the following night, is only the Rabbana. And a Malkam Isanis, when he was finicky and it caused him tsar, like Gazer Be Rabbanan. The Rabbanan were not Geyser. Taisus asked the question, why is it dependent on whether Aninos is Deraisa or Derabanan on the night itself? We're talking about washing. The Isra of washing is an Isra Derabanan. Aninos, whether it's Aninos is Deraisa or Derabanan, is probably an Isra of eating Meiser. But in any event, washing is an Isra Derabanan. So why is it even the Geya? Taisus answers, because if Aninos, Laila would be Deraisa, the Rabbanan would not be Mekel for an isness. Since the Ninos, Lilas, the Rabbanan were makel for their isness. The Rabbanan washing by an isness, they did not impose it on an isness. See, Tevi was nifcher, he was mekabel tanchumim, tan Rabbanan mishvachas ein demalein b'shura. You don't stand in the shura to be mekabel tanchum consolation, which is normally done which is normally done for an ovel. And we don't say the bracha of avelim and tanchumei avelim. As the Forshim speak out, the Rishonim speak out. In any event, this is only noig by an ovel. An ovel is only by a relative. Why would it be noig by avodim and shvachas? In any event, why should it be noig for them? They're not relatives. They're not the relatives that one can be makabel tanchumim for. They answer that in addition to relatives, a Talmud and a Rebbe in a Talmud relationship is akin to relatives, so one could be, if they're not avodim, one could be makabel tanchumim. But even so, not by avodim. Back in the Gemara Maisu, Masechet Brachot Rabbi Eliezer, Shivcha was nifted and nifted. Talmid of Lenachma, they came to Menachem to console him. Came in Shirah, someone he saw them, Olalali, he went up to the attic. And they followed him. And they kept on following me. He went into a small house, which is an anteroom, and they followed him there. Nechtas l'trakman to the large hall. Nechtas achrav. Amar Lam, he said to them, I thought that you'd be burned, scalded with warm water, with lukewarm water, meaning that you would get the hint. Now you don't even get burnt with boiling water, meaning after all these times I'm running away from you, and you still don't get the hint that you're not supposed to be makabel tanchumim for a shivcha. Didn't I teach you avodim v'shvachas einoim d'meleim b'shura ve'einoim d'meleim b'chas avelim loy tanchumei avelim? I taught you that you do not accept consolations for a shivcha. What do you say for them? You say the following. Just like if he had his donkey that died, meaning he had a loss. He had a loss of property, he had a loss of money. The Bansham should fill your loss, should replenish your loss. Tanya Ida, Chavan Mishvachas must be noisome. You don't do a hesped, don't say a hesped on Avodim and Shvachas. Rav Yossi Omer, Im Evet Koshu, Omer Love, Have Ish Toiv, Nema, Ish Toiv, and Neman, Venenam Yigia. He was a good man, an honest man. He got hana from his labor. If you're going to say this about an Eved, such praises, what are you going to say for a Yid who is kosher? These are such gewaldige praises, meaning that it's excessive to say it for an Eved. We only refer to the Avos as Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And the Imois are only the 4 Imois. The rest of we don't call them Avos Imois. Always my time. Why it's only Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Elam Mishum Delayadina Imiruben Kosina Mishim Kosinan, because perhaps we don't know exactly which Shevet we're from. We don't know if therefore it's Reuven, so you can't say Reuven is our father. Maybe Reuven's not our father. Maybe Shimon's not our father. Maybe it's Levi. Maybe it's Yehuda. Well, if that's the case, well, Imois, therefore there should be the same thing, that we don't know exactly who our mother is, or from the forefathers, and it could be that we come from Leah, could we come from Rachel. So how can we call all 4 of them Imois? Ella, the pshat is not because we don't know exactly where we stem from. Because that's the chashivas. Avram Yitzchak Yaakov have the chashivas, and after that, it's not the same level of chashivas. We don't call it avos. The 4 imois, that's the level of chashivas, and not past that. We don't call the mother or father ploinus. My solicitor, it seems to be contradicting what we just said. Mishum chashivi. No, we don't call them mother, fathers, meaning that's a title of chashivas. We don't give them that title of chashivas because they're not that chashiv. But if it happens to be that there is an Eved who is exceptionally chashiv, then we do give them that title of Abba, of a chashiv person. I will give you a bracha in my life. V'imoisa kain, if he does, Allah v'kosav oimer k'mo chel v'deshem tisba nafshi. You'll be satisfied. You'll be satisfied with full satisfaction. He will get both oilam hazard, oilam haba, shenema, v'sisei, v'svasei, v'nonais, yahalel pi. So it says that in a renonais is a double lashon. Is a double lashon means oilam hazard and oilam haba. Rabbi Lezer Basra, now we're going to go through a large section of the siyum of how they ended off their tefillah, the Shemana Esrei, the special tefillahs that they said at the end of Shemana Esrei. We have the nusach that we have, Elakayin and Sar. There's different nuschos in Ashkenaz and Sfar, exactly what it said, but there's different nuschos of what was said in earlier generations. Rabbi Lazar Basra the Messiah Slays at the end of his Shemana Omar Hachi Rotzen of Anacha Hashem Alakeno Shetishkan B'Foreno Ava V'Achva V'Shalom V'Reyos, that we should have peace in our dwellings. V'Tarabek V'Leinu V'Talmidim, and we should have Talmidim V'Tasliach Seifenu Achris V'Tikva V'Tasmachal Kenu B'Ganeinu V'Takneinu V'Chover Toiv V'Yetzer Toiv V'Olam Mecha V'Nashkim V'Nimsa Yichel V'Venu L'Yira Eshemecha. We should arise and waken, and we should have that our desires are Yira Shamayim. V'Tavel V'Necha Keres Nafshenu L'Toiva, and that's what it should come before us, that our needs should come before it, the evil of Taiva. Rabbi Yochanan Basra the Mitzayim Slay Samar Hachi Yiratzim L'Fanecha Shem L'Ken Shetatzav V'Vaishneinu. We should look into our busha. V'Tavid V'Ra Seinu V'Tislabish V'Rachamecha. You should be cloaked in Rachim and mercy. V'Tischase V'Oscha V'Tisase V'Chasi V'Secha V'Tizazer B'Chani V'Secha V'Tava L'Fanecha Midas Tuvcha V'Ana V'Secha. Rav Zera Basra the Mitzayim Slay Samar Hachi Yiratzim L'Fanecha Shem L'Ken Shlei Nechta. That we should not sin, and we should not be embarrassed and disgraced from our fathers. Rav Chia Basra the Masla Amar Hachi Yiratzim L'Fanecha Hashem L'Keinu Shetei Toraseinu M'Aseinu V'Yidav L'Beinu V'Yachsh Chayneinu. That Torah, we should be engaged in our Torah, and we should not be despondent. Rav Basra Tzleis Amar Hachi Yiratzim L'Fanecha Hashem L'Keinu Shetei Lanu Chaim Aruchim. This is the bracha, this is the tefillah that we say in Birchas HaChodesh. This is the nusach that we say. Shetita lanu chaim aruchim, chaim shel sholom, chaim shel toiva, chaim shel bracha, chaim shel parnasa, chaim shel chiluk tzatzomas, strength, chaim sheish behem yiras chet, chaim she'en behem busha chlima, chaim shel oisha v'chovet, chaim shtevanu avas tayv riyas shemayim, chaim she'tamalu lanu es kol mishal slibeinu l'toiva.